because let me say hello. Because I can't see it because I'm
It
on until
yeah,
the
it says
YouTube thing.
it's saying it's being live streamed. So we're
Live
on.
streamed. We are live on YouTube. Woohoo! Hello to everybody watching us on YouTube. It's Elliot K here, and I'm joined by Deenita, legendary judge for the Speaker Awards, who I will be interviewing shortly. The interview will start properly shortly. But if you are watching on YouTube right now, I'd just like to say hello to all the people watching the live recording of this week's podcast, the A&S podcast, Front Row Podcast. It's not just the A&S podcast, it's the A&S Front Row Podcast. Just to make sure the volume's off. The volume is off, so we are good. So hello again to everybody watching us on YouTube. We're going to start the live recording now. So here we go. Let's press record. We forgot the cue. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the A&S Front Row Podcast. And this is another incredible episode with the lovely Deenita, who is one of our legendary all-time serving judges for the Speaker Awards. But before we get into that, just remember the Speaker Awards are open as we speak. Go to speakerawards.com as we are speaking and get your application in, because from the day this is recorded, there's 9 days to go. Now, it doesn't matter. I don't know when you might be listening to this, but keep in mind they close on the 30th of April 2026, and the door is shut, it's slammed, it's bolted, it's nailed. There is no reopening. Get your application in today if you can. Thespeakerawards.com. We are in year 5, and I'm super excited about today's episode. I get to interview I think, yeah, you're the only judge that's been with us for the whole 5 years. So first things first, let's welcome Deenita to the podcast. How are you, my lovely?
Hello, Elliot. I am, first of all, very excited to be on your podcast. So, Front Row Podcast is where I always like to be, in the front row, of course, when I'm not on stage, that is.
Yeah,
And yes, I have been with you since the start. I can't believe it's been 5 years, though. It's
I
like
know.
mad, isn't it?
It
And
is
it's just,
crazy, right?
yeah.
5 years of craziness.
But
So
so much has
let
happened as well. Like it's grown massively, which has been amazing to see.
I
So
know it has
it's like your
grown.
little child.
It is right. It started off as a little baby that we could put to sleep for 6 months for the first couple of years, and then we'd wake it up, and then it would grunt for a bit, and then it'd go back to sleep. And now we can't put it back to sleep. It's become a toddler. It's actually
Yeah.
probably a little person as we're speaking, right?
It's not sleeping. It's not
It's
sleeping.
it's definitely not sleeping. It demands a lot of attention, continuous attention. And so, yeah, I feel very blessed and very lucky that we've reached this point, because actually when I set out, I don't think I had quite had the vision for it to become. I mean, I had a vision for it, but the vision for it has become so much more, right? So let's start right back. You joined us year one, right?
Yeah.
Year one. What, when I turned to you and said, "Hey, do you want to be a judge?" What made you say yes?
Well, first of all, I'd been in the speaking world for quite a while, and I had
Hmm.
been involved in other awards. But what you presented to me, Elliot, was something that was missing out of the industry. There wasn't a real awards ceremony that basically encompassed everybody and every type of speaker,
Right.
any type of category. There were niche kind of awards that were done by different
Yeah,
organizations,
that's right.
but
Yeah, yeah.
nothing wider, nothing that said, right, hey guys, this is for newbies, this is for TEDx speakers, this is for specific niche topic speakers like technology and environment and all that kind of stuff, storytelling. There wasn't anything that was out there that represented the speaking world.
Yeah.
It's almost like speaking was seen as such a hobby, even though it was a highly paid hobby and a
Yeah.
highly paid strategy for a lot of companies, but it wasn't seen as, it was like, oh yeah, this is great, I get to be on stage. But I think there's the what you presented to me meant that, right, we've got to put this on the map, like how serious this industry is, how amazing this industry is, and then also awarding the people who actually work really hard but never get seen. So,
Hmm.
and an opportunity, it was a launch pad, wasn't it, for people who are so good, they never get gigs, they never get seen because they don't know how to, or they don't have the right connections, or whatever it might be. And I think it just catapulted people who were worth seeing. So yeah, as soon as you said that to me, I was just like, this is missing in the industry. And I love the speaking industry. I've been
Mm.
part of it for over 20 years now, I think. And so that it was a no-brainer.
Brilliant. So that was year one, right? So it's evolved. The caliber of speaker we attract has grown.
Yeah.
And so, from your point of view, what have you seen since year one to where we are today? I mean, obviously, we haven't quite done year five because that's coming up.
Yeah.
But what have you seen from a judge's perspective? What have you seen that's changed? Yeah.
Yeah, so quite a lot actually. The first year, the entries that came in, you had a lot of sort of you had a lot of sort of home speakers almost, if that makes sense, who were
Yes.
kind of doing their video on their phone and in their living room,
Oh, no.
etc.
Oh, gosh.
And which is great, especially for newbies if they've got that sort of, they haven't had the opportunity to be in front of loads of
Yeah,
people
that's
on
right.
an actual stage. So it's okay. But I think that what's developed even more is the fact that there is more variety of different types of speakers. And even those sort of newbie speakers, even if it's just a speaking gig in their local community, people are actually thinking about, hey, I want to film this. So even if it's my son filming it at the back of the room, it'll be me in front of a real life audience. And so I think people are taking it more seriously now, that it's not just oh, let me try this in my home with the coffee in the background type of thing. People are
Yeah.
taking it more seriously. And then the array of speakers, like more international entries we've had over the
Yeah.
years now. We've had people who have been speaking for years who have or who are already successful, but they've just never had a platform like this. So they're entering. So you're now seeing even seasoned speakers coming through. It's
Yeah,
not
that's true.
just for people who are not seen. The TEDx speakers, like you see the variety of those as well. So the number of entries has freaking multiplied
Yes, that's true.
10x. So it's really nice now judging because you see the variety and you see also the development in speaking itself, like how people are doing things differently than even how I was trained, 20 odd years ago. So you can see some of those things coming through, but then you can also see the stuff that needs to be there, like what's
Mm.
missing from a training perspective. Speakers who are going up who potentially have been trained, but they're still missing that specific part, the thing that all speakers need. And so you're starting to see, hey, look, these are things that are very, very consistent through the speakers. So it's been great. I think just the it's now getting out and more people are doing it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for everyone listening and watching, if you are recording in your home, that's okay, by the way. We're not,
yeah,
because actually, I asked Sarah Archer yesterday, I interviewed her, like how she feels about people that are recording in their living room for the awards. And
yeah,
she was saying that that doesn't discount them. As long as,
yeah,
you're getting judged on your delivery, as long as, you make it so it's still a talk, um, that's okay. So if, for those of you who might be filming in your living room, that's all right.
yeah,
Don't worry if
100%.
it's not in front of an audience. But what we talked about is no dirty underwear in the background and things like that. Like let's not have that hanging in the
Yeah,
background.
taking it as something that's serious, like it's
Exactly.
I think that's the difference. It's like, oh, let me just try this as a hobby versus, right, no, this is something I want to do, or I want to be, I want advice. I want to be judged because I want to see how I can progress. People are doing it because they want to take this particular career path as a real avenue.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what she was saying. Like if you show everything and you're showing that it's serious, it doesn't matter where you film it.
Yeah,
But obviously things like clear audio, clean video, right? That matters. Even if
yeah,
we're not looking for a show reel, but something that's easy to watch. And of course, if anybody listening and watching, we do have a resource page on the speakawards.com. So click on the resources, and there are examples of entries as well. So for those who want to do that. So you watch the awards grow and evolve, right? And you've seen a lot. You've seen from the day one where we had a certain caliber. What's really interesting now is I'm hearing and seeing people that are specifically going and filming stuff for the awards. I know, for example, Bonita Norris won Showreel last year. She produced that showreel to enter the awards. That
yeah,
is like blows my mind that people are doing that. I know people that are literally this week gone into studios, filmed their content for the awards.
Yeah.
I'm just, that blows my mind. I mean, when I started that, I didn't think people would be like entering with an intent like that. Like I'm producing something for the awards. So for me, that's a massive compliment. Over the
And I think
years,
that just shows, though, Elliot, that sorry to interrupt, but I think
that's
that
like,
just shows the fact that how people are viewing speaking as an avenue.
yeah,
It's because like this is, it's not a nice to have, and they're starting to think, well, hang on a second, if I am a speaker, I need to have X, Y, Z in order for me to be able to market myself, be the person that I want to be, like, show that intent. And I think that's where, like you said, people are actually doing show reels because they want to enter the awards, and they know that, oh my gosh, once I enter the awards, this gets seen by more people, I get
right,
feedback. That's the great thing about the judges with the speaker awards, is so many of them, I know, when we come to the awards or the summit, and they meet those individuals, or rather the awards. So when the awards are done and they meet those individuals afterwards, they will give them feedback, or they'll
mm,
bring a piece of paper with them that once, the awards are done, they'll hand that piece of paper even to the ones that haven't won but were shortlisted. And I think that's how much the judges care. And I
yeah.
think that's what's so valuable to the speaker. So I think going out and doing these things intentionally, because they know that's what a speaker needs. That's the only way that we're going to get, we're going to stand out in front of competition, and it's going to give them feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really interesting that the judges choose. And by the way, the judges do this of their own time. I don't think
Yeah,
people realize that you're giving up your own time. You've done that for 5 years now, so thank you.
you're welcome.
And again, if you go beyond that to giving people feedback, that's off their own back. We don't make them do that. We
No.
do work to try and incorporate that. This year we almost went with a system that allowed you to do that,
Mm,
but in the end we couldn't use that particular system. So yeah, look, it is, and the thing we wanted to really create and still want to create is that community that everybody's supported, everybody's celebrated, regardless of where you end up.
yeah.
And everybody, the feedback I get from a lot of speakers, it'd be interesting to see from a judging point of view, is they talk about how much the process itself, whether they go through shortlisting and to the end, helps people narrow down who they are as speakers. And again, that's kind of been not a side effect because we always wanted a robust process, but
Mm,
we didn't realize how much that process alone will have a positive impact on speakers. So, from the judge's point of view, that gets to read that and see that, are you noticing a kind of a growth over the last 5 years that's kind of got better and cleaner, or has it just always been kind of consistently the same?
no, it's definitely got, like, there's definitely been development and growth in that, because the whole, in terms of how you judge them, and then the whole system, and it is cleaner, and it allows us to really see the development within the speaker themselves.
Yeah,
So as every year goes by, you then go, oh, you can almost see some of the re people who are re-entering as well, how much they've improved
yeah,
as well.
right.
And I think that's what this whole system allows. It allows there to be that growth, and for those systems to actually have a long-term impact and long-term effect. So from a judging point of view, I think that, there's always going to be developments in how people present, in how people deliver, and in the way that they do it. People have got different training from different places, but as you see that development, us as judges also have to ensure that we are one step ahead as well, because then as we're judging these entries, we're seeing that growth and that development. So we have to always be ahead of the game. So I think it definitely has an impact on us as well,
Yeah,
because we're always going, hang on a second, there's just because we're judges doesn't mean we can't learn something from it.
of
And I
course.
think that's a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and what has also been amazing to see is people like yourself that come back. Like some people come and go, right? That's
Yeah.
okay, but people come back, and so that to us is really nice. And again, it creates that consistency, right? Because then we
Yeah.
do have it's not every year there's this massive overhaul and then we have to start again. Actually,
Yeah.
it becomes easier for the judges because you've already done the process, you've been involved, and you have an expectation that can be met or not met, and therefore it kind of gives that through thread
Yeah, it
some
does.
other awards might miss because the judge is always turning over. So
Yeah, and it's different. It's really interesting actually because it's almost like my April to July is almost like, right, this is reserved
for the awards,
for the awards.
it's
Yeah,
award season.
exactly. So it's because I just enjoy them so much, and for me, I remember when when I was learning to be a speaker and getting on stages, and the feedback that I was getting from my mentors and even my colleagues and people who were in the speaking industry with me, that is what helped me grow and
Yeah,
become the person that I am today as a speaker. And it is so and coaching other speakers, for me, this is what this is. Like I really enjoy giving back to other speakers because I can see myself in them. I can
yeah.
see those ones who are trying to be perfect and forget the passion in that moment, those who are procrastinating and not getting up there. I remember, I think it was the second year, and I had a group of friends who were all speakers, and they were new speakers, and I was like, right, you guys have got to enter these speaker awards. And one of them ended up winning best show reel, another
All
one
right.
ended up winning, like, I think, oh yeah, she was the TEDx speaker, she was one of my clients, for something else, for marketing, and she got runner up, but she had never done speaking before. She'd been trained by somebody else, and
Hmm.
she'd never done it before, and she'd entered these awards not thinking she was even going to get a look in.
Who was that?
So, got a name now.
Oh no.
But Neen Gandhi Patel won
Oh
best
yeah,
show
Mary's
reel.
showreel. Yeah.
Yeah, so he won best show reel, and then Maria, I can't remember her surname, but Maria won best run. She was runner up in TEDx.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. And just to remind everybody, if the judge does know them directly in
Yeah.
speaking realms, then they have to excuse themselves. They
Yeah, I
cannot
luckily I
judge
didn't
them.
have
Yeah, you were working from a
those
marketing
particular.
point of view, not from a speaking
Yeah,
point
they
of
were
view.
clients completely
And they
separately.
can't judge them. So if for
Yeah,
whatever reason they ended up in Denita's category, she would have to say, I can't judge this person. And so
yeah.
that's all in the code of conduct, which is on the
Yes.
website. So
It's
before
done
there's
it is
conspiracy
done
theories,
very, very smoothly, efficiently, and very ethically, I think. That's the other thing. That's the other great thing about these awards, Elliot. I have to say this is, and I've been part of awards whereby I've been shortlisted, and then the way to get to the top of the shortlist, or the, one, two, or three, or whatever, is you have to then share your
mm,
shortlist link on Facebook, whatever, and whoever gets the most votes. And I
mm-mm.
remember the first time that situation happened, and I was like, actually, I don't want to do this, because I was like, I shouldn't be rewarded because I got the most
Exactly.
votes. And that's what I love about the Speaker Awards, is that it is done fairly. It's done by people who are so brilliantly talented in the speaking industry as judges, people who have previous winners who have been, who have got all the attributes that they need to be able to identify who's a good and who's not, or who needs improvement. And that's a great thing, that it is done fair and square. And like you said, because we are excused from people that we know, it means that we cannot judge that. We cannot have any kind of bias. And then and that's why we have groups, don't we, as judges for
Yeah.
each category. We put into teams so that if that happens, right, I'm not gonna put any points into this because I have to excuse myself. So that's the
Yeah.
other great thing, because I think there are very few awards out there like that.
Yeah, we work very hard. It's not a popularity contest. People are judged on their delivery,
Mm,
on fulfilling the category.
yeah.
And as is obviously round one, you don't even interact. So you're doing it completely individually. So you don't know
Yeah.
what the other judges are doing
No.
in your category. And then you meet to discuss the winner,
Yeah.
highly commended. Yeah, I find those awards really icky, right? When they're like, you have to,
Yeah.
share the link or get so many signups or give 5 addresses. It's just like, well, that's not awards. And I think what that actually does is it gives us a bit of a harder,
Yeah.
you know, sell, or
Yeah.
because people are very skeptical, and I'm all
Yeah.
about skepticism. And it's good to be skeptical if you're willing to also be disproven all your
Yeah,
skepticism.
yeah.
Actually,
100%.
Sarah asked me an interesting question yesterday. She's like, "What are the three things you can dispel right away?" Right,
Mm,
and one of them is, of course, is a it's a popularity contest. It's not. It's judged by judges. There's three
yeah,
judges in each category, and you are judged on what you present. That's it, right? Two, that you have to buy a ticket to win the award. That's not
yeah.
true. Plenty of we
Oh,
ask you
yeah,
send right exactly. You send representation, or you come. We would like you to
yeah,
be, but your progression on the competition doesn't depend on that. And the
yeah,
last thing is the admin fee, right? Is like if you're paying the admin fee to win the award, no, you're paying to enter the competition, and that's where it
yeah,
ends. As you
yeah.
know, there's a lot that goes on in the
Well, I was
background.
going to say there's a whole team in the background, isn't there? Like these, at the end of the day, these things don't happen. People put their time in, their hours in, and there has to be an administrative fee to be able to cover those costs.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about. It's,
Yeah.
valuing the people who are putting this all together. And I think
Yeah.
that needs to happen.
Yeah. So no popularity here. And, if it's not for you to enter an awards, don't enter the awards. You don't have to grunt about it. You just don't enter them, right? If it's
Just
not
don't
your thing,
enter
it's not
them.
your thing. It's
Yeah.
very simple. No, we're not handcuffing anyone to any chair until they do at the awards. So
Yeah.
over the years, for you, what's really kind of stood out? So I don't know how many videos you must have watched now over five
Oh
years,
God.
right? Let's not even
Hundreds.
try and think about that.
No,
But it's in the hundreds,
it's
right?
in that. Yeah.
What does good look like for you as a judge?
So for me, I think really important what you said earlier on was that it doesn't matter what background it is. It doesn't matter whether whether it's in a studio, whether it's in your home. It doesn't matter whether it's in a school hall or whether it's in a big auditorium. It doesn't matter whether you've got five people in front of you or whether you've got 500 people in front of you. I think really what I look for as a particular judge, and I think I would imagine it's the same for many, is first of all, the delivery of whatever the content is, because obviously we've got so many different categories, right? And, somebody could be talking about a particular niche that I have no idea about, but it's about their delivery. So the way that I judge is I
Mhm.
put myself in their audience. So that's
Okay.
why I read their profile, I read what they're all about, their niche, what type of topic they are experts in. I read that because I have to imagine myself going, if I needed this person to speak to me and I was in that industry, I was part of their audience, how would I feel sitting in that auditorium or in that room or whatever it is, or watching it on video if it's like a, webinar or something. So that's the first thing. And so delivery is really important because when you engage somebody just through your tonality, your fluctuation, your eye contact, all of those things, your hand gestures and movement if you're on a stage, it is absolutely crucial because you
Mm.
could then talk about the yellow pages, as old saying is, right? But you could make it sound
Do they still
interesting.
exist?
I don't think so. That's how old I am. There you go. But and I use the example of somebody talking about trading or anything financial. Like, honestly, my eyes would normally glaze over.
Right.
But if it's done in the right way with stories and evidence and it really in an engaging style, and you can feel that the speaker is speaking to me, even though there's other people in the audience, then that is all about delivery. So that's the first thing I think that I really, really look for is was their delivery great? Stories, do they use stories that make something maybe complicated or something very niche relatable? So that's
Mm.
really important, I think. And I think the use of stories, even in a business presentation or a corporate presentation, is key because that's actually what makes it entertaining. So engaging, entertaining, um, and then I look for sort of that almost audience interaction. Are they making me, the person in the audience, part of that journey? So part of their speaking journey. So those are kind of some of the things I really look for because I have to be seated in that audience to go right. And through that, you'll see, okay, well, actually, they did this right, or they did this really well. And had they done that a little bit more, it would have been even better. But I'm still gonna, these are the bits that they need to improve on. And so that helps us to then score them appropriately because, they may do four things great and it might be two things that they need to improve on
Right.
versus four things that don't hit the mark, and two things great, and then that's how you kind of end up. So yeah, so those are the things I really look for, and I can only do that if I'm sat in their audience.
Right. Okay. And by the way, everyone listening or watching, there is exactly what the judges are seeing is on the Speaker Awards website. You can see what they're using to judge you. So it's all very transparent. Is there a particular one that really you still remember and you're like, whoa, yay, it really kind of stood out for you? Is there a particular application that blew you away?
Yeah, so there was and I always forget. I don't know. I must be menopause because I definitely have a forgetful brain.
I
But I
think we
remember
all
her
do.
story. I remember her story, um, both last year and the year before, actually. And it's a lady who did she got cancer and then she did this. I think it was a boat
Nicola.
race. Is it
Nicola
Nicola?
Morgan, TEDx category.
No, not TEDx.
Ah,
It was a different one, and I can't remember. Yeah, I can't
I
remember the name.
think
But
it's
she.
Nicola's story, swimming
Oh,
the
okay. Maybe
channel
she
or
did
something like
TEDx.
that.
Yeah, well, I just remember that her and her sister, I think, had decided that they were gonna race across whatever channel or do a,
Something like that. It might be.
yeah,
I've never watched a
and
TEDx. Go on.
yeah, and she also got cancer as well. I think I can't remember what type of cancer it was, but she did it anyway, and and she obviously she's in remission and all that kind of stuff. But that whole story, the way she told it, the way she yeah, it just really, really resonated from a point of view of grit and determination and never giving up. And I really love and the way that she put it together, like, the visuals that she had. I mean, she was speaking in a small boardroom, so it wasn't like a massive big auditorium that she was speaking in when I first viewed her
Ah,
entry. So yeah, she was one that really stood out.
I
Um,
think I could be correct. I think that's Nicola because I think one year she entered, she didn't quite make it.
mm,
In the awards, and then the following year she came back and won it. And I think what
yeah,
happened is she did that talk, and then that went onto the TEDx stage, and
yeah,
then it kind of evolved. I could be
yeah,
wrong, but I think it's Nicola that won TEDx last year.
yeah. Terrible that I can't remember names.
No, no,
Sorry.
I'm the same. I get it. A, you're watching so many videos. B, it's over
Yeah.
5 years. C, I didn't ask you to pre this to choose one, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. I don't remember a lot of people's names, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, ironically, what we're starting to add to the website is the last 5 years of winners.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
had to go back to our very first email to look and say, oh my God, that person. Oh my gosh, that person. There's so many
I know. I
like
should I should have actually done that. Should have just gone through all of those as well.
I know, but even like looking at some of the people that won in 2022 and 20,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh wow. And because again, some people just come, they win, they go. They don't come back every
yeah,
year. Not everyone comes back every year. I think I was talking to Bonita earlier on, who won Showreel last year, Storyteller year
yeah,
before. And she's like, I'm just not quite sure what I'm going to enter this year. Like, what do I go for?
yeah.
I'm like, well, I need to leave that with you. But so some people kind of they just move on. Right, Mark Denton,
They
the one in 2024, Booker's Choice. He
yeah,
came, won, left. That's it. He's
yeah,
done, and that's okay. That's it. It's a transient thing. It's not we don't expect people to. Well, it's nice that they do, but we don't have
yeah,
the expectation that people do year on
yeah.
year on.
I
So
tell
it's
you what,
great.
one year that was really good as well. I mean,
Yeah,
the first couple of years, one lady who always blew me away was Jazz.
yeah,
So she's always got this amazing energy about her. And before we'd even had the awards, she was actually at the summit during the day, and I was
yeah. That's
speaking
right.
at that summit actually because that was
Yeah,
the first time that I spoke on your stage. And she came when we had these round tables. She came over and she was just full of life. I still remember, so I remember her. But one thing that I was going to say was. Do you remember when I think it was the first year that we did this. Or it might have been the second year, but where we did the stories on stage, like
second
the
year,
it
second
was
year.
second year,
Yes,
wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
And I remember just a couple of the stories then, like just it made me chuckle, made me laugh. So that that seeing them in real life doing it was a real nice experience too. So there's been
yeah,
some really good, like now when I'm thinking about it, there's been some really good. Like last year, I remember judging one lady. She was a Spanish lady, and she came out on stage with her
Marta.
yeah, that was it, Marta. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
thought she had really impressed me as well, so just
There's
because
some
of her
incredible
boldness.
speakers out there, and part of the reason we do this is because, like you said, often they don't quite get the light, they don't get the spotlight. And what we find the awards help people do is it helps open doors.
Yeah.
Whether you're shortlisted or you win or you're highly commended, or sometimes even going through the process, you get clear on who you are. I mean, we're encouraging people always to back themselves, right? That's always our message, regardless of where you land. But what we are seeing is, as a result of this, it opens doors for people, and like people
Yeah.
like Marta, who's incredible. When she won one year Speaker of the Live Speaker of the Year,
Yeah.
highly commended the following year. I think she put her TEDx in. I can't, again, like you, I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is it. Like, these are people that otherwise might not quite get the spotlight in the way
Yeah.
they deserve. So yeah, kudos to them.
And you see the
So
progression, don't you, Elliot? Like you said, like they enter the first year and then they're like, even if they don't get somewhere, or even if they do, they still then go, oh, they're encouraged. They're like, okay, actually, I want to do this again. I want to do this again. When they come to the awards and the summit, the amount that people learn at the summit, including myself, and then when they come to the awards and they're able to network with all of their fellow speakers, as well as the judges, I think it just gives them a massive boost. So,
yeah,
yeah.
and what's really nice, and again, it's so nice that this has happened, because as kind of the founder and the visionary, I was a bit scared it might turn into a little bit of people catting at each other or getting a bit bitchy when they don't
Mhm.
win. But actually, what we've seen is people are generally massively supportive of each other,
Yeah.
and generally that people do celebrate other people. Of course, there's some bitterness. Some people are a bit upset when they don't win. I
Yeah.
mean, the reason we didn't do those live stories after that year is because the backlash was so severe,
Yeah.
when someone didn't win and someone did win. And we were like, you know what? Well, it's funny because Lavelda reminded me of this. She goes, well, you wanted drama and you got drama. But it's not the kind of drama I wanted. So I should be
No, no,
more specific
exactly.
with it. And I think we rode that quite well, right? I think we've
Yeah,
managed
yeah, I
that
think so.
quite well.
And I think,
Um,
like you said, you're always gonna get that because, but actually, that's a good thing as well. When
yeah.
you get a little bit of drama, not that we invite it, by the way, not that we invite it, but it just means people care because they're so invested in what they want to in the awards and what it means to them. And that's something that I think we can take away. Well, certainly you can take away that this means so much to them that it suddenly hits them and their response is not always considered. But once they've had a bit of time to think about it, they kind of then it all kind of dissipates. And they probably come back the following year. But I think that year for the audience it was great
Yeah. For the
because
audience, it
we
was
got to see
fantastic.
it. Yeah, so I think from that point of view it was really good, and for the judges as well. But yeah, I think when that kind of stuff does happen, even if it's happening in the background, anybody who's watching this right now, just know that when you enter the Speaker Awards, even if you don't win, the thing to remember is how you respond to that. It's always
Right.
about, well, listen, if I don't win this year, that means I've got to be better at something. I've got to improve. I've got to do something. And then the people who do win, go and watch their videos, go and
Hmm.
look them up on YouTube or whatever, because you'll see why they won. And maybe you can take that learning from it as well and enter the following year. And I think the people who do get hurt by it is just because they care.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong being disappointed and hurt. I think there's everything right with that.
Mm.
I think when it becomes conspiratorial, or it's like
Yeah,
becomes bitter, like bitchy, that's not nice. But
that's not,
people
yeah,
are people, right?
yeah,
So in that respect, so we've talked about like stuff that stood out for the right reasons. What's the
yeah.
stuff that stands out for the wrong reasons? What, like, if anyone's watching this, like, don't do this kind of thing. Don't try this at home. What
Yeah.
would that be for you?
Okay, so I mean, we talked earlier about think about your surroundings, right? Whenever especially if you are doing it at home or whatever, like make sure that there's no dirty stuff hanging and inappropriate background visuals.
Uh-oh.
That's
Yeah.
what I'll say. Um, from a speaker point of view, I think there's a lot of things where speakers need to think about, like I think sound quality is quite important to a certain extent. And I don't mean you need a, professional mic or anything like that. But when you're submitting your video, just think about, if I'm listening to this, can I hear it? Is there too much background noise or interference and things like that? I think that is really important because as judges, remember you've only got 5 minutes. Is it still 5 minutes, Elliot, right?
It
You've only got
is,
five
unless it's a
minutes.
TEDx category, then it's
Yeah,
eight
so
to
you've still
ten.
got
Yeah.
5 minutes to impress us. So first of all, do make sure that, the quality of the video, so not necessarily, like I said, the sound of the equipment you've got, but the quality of the video is good enough that when people are watching it, they're not distracted by white noise. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think really is important is choose the right section of your talk. And I say this every year when I give feedback to some of my some of my speakers, and that is like, the section of the video that you've put in doesn't, if I go and watch the whole thing, I'll see other elements that are so much better. So choose that 5 minutes wisely, so that we get a real flavor of what you're like, in that environment. Because, if you're doing a 90-minute talk, um, and 5 minutes of this wasn't your best part, look for the best part of that video. So I would definitely say think about the 5 minutes that you're entering, because I think you've got to show your best version of yourself. And that will allow the judge to really see you at your potential, because there'll still be things to improve. All of us have things to improve all the time. But yeah, really think about the 5 minutes that you are putting in. Um, and those are the two kind of, for me, big kind of, things to look out for is the quality. Because remember, like when you're entering this, once it's entered, that's it. Like now it's left to us, and the competition is so fierce.
Mm,
So, really, really consider what you're putting yourself forward for.
yeah.
So,
So quality, sound, and the
yeah,
appropriate part. Dom's talked about that a lot. I've interviewed him, and even he commented on one of the posts I did today. Um, he talked about choosing the right part. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to sneeze. Excuse me, in the middle
yeah.
of a
Go on.
podcast. I think. Well, has it passed? Wait, maybe it's passed. I was fighting the sneeze, and
You've
then
done it. You've kind of gone every
yeah, I
now
was
and
like,
again
am
to
I
ready to do it.
in the middle of a live recording? Here we go. You get it real. Anyway, the sneeze seems to have passed. But Dom was talking about that. He's like choosing the right part of your talk, which is
Yeah,
appropriate to the category.
yeah,
Again, so I guess that's some of the mistakes you see. I mean, I do see that sometimes. I don't look at many entries because I want to say completely removed.
yeah,
I do, for example, see people putting their show reel for like this, like three times in, because
yeah.
this year we can do three versus other years. And I think that that does them a disservice because I remember even last year, one of the judges contacted me and she's like, "Is this right for the category?" And I said, "Well, do you feel it answers the criteria? If it does, yes."
Mm.
Luckily, she decided, well, luckily, she decided it was. And then he went on to win that category and actually became Speaker of the Year, right? Jim
Yeah,
Steele. But there was a moment of, is this the right video to be entering? So I think
yeah,
set yourself up, back yourself, but set yourself up to win. Do the right videos for the right categories
yeah,
and the right parts. Now, of course, it's subjective, but I think just really read. That's what I'm saying. Everything's there. You can see what they're going to look at. You can see what they're going to
yeah.
be judging on. So that is there anything that completely bombed for you? Like, oh no,
Oh,
hell no. Yeah, go
something
on.
about show reels as well, because you just mentioned show reels. So I think it was last year where there were some show reels, or maybe it was the year before. I can't remember what category. I don't think I did show reels last year, but anyway. So yeah, there are two parts to the show reels actually, which is why I remember it was from last year. So when if you're entering, let's say, like I get, let's say I'm judging newcomer, which I think is what I was doing last year. And then in the newcomer category, there was a show reel.
Yeah,
And it's not just the fact that it was a wrong type of
show
video for,
real.
yeah, for newcomer, but also because the show reel was like more of an ad as opposed to
Right,
snippets of showing us your talk.
right.
And that's a bit that was missing. So there was this whole show reel, but I didn't hear you speak once.
Oh, that's
And
terrible. Yeah, that's not
and
good.
so that is a complete no-no,
Yes,
because
that's a promo video,
it's a
right?
promo video. Thank you. So that just made me go switch off, like this person. So, again, just paying attention, because I think attention to detail is what speakers need anyway as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, just paying attention, like where are you putting that particular category? So even if you're entering show reel, make sure your show reel isn't a promo video.
yeah. It's a
Make sure it
speaker show reel.
shows, yeah, it's a speaker show reel. And that's the difference. So that for me is a big no, no. The minute I see that, I literally will just switch it off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And some of the other just talked about that suddenly people in the middle of pitching at them, or they see it like they're just promoting their book. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, I get like the kind of like the trying it part, like,
yeah,
but you're wasting someone's time. They're just going to completely switch off and you're going to lose. If you think about this, you're paying for 5 minutes of attention, right?
yeah,
Five, or if you're doing the TEDx eight, like your admin fee guarantees you someone from the industry to look at your stuff,
yeah,
right? That's what you're guaranteed for the £80 that people, or 240.
yeah,
You want to maximize those minutes, right? You want to make sure that I am putting my best stuff to the front, and really ask yourself, is talking about my book the best use of my time when it's a
yeah,
speaking competition,
yeah.
or is suddenly pitching my course at them
Of
the
course,
best
yeah.
use of my time? Now you might have got it's only 80 quid, but actually it's 5 minutes of the judge's time,
Time,
right? Which
yeah.
they won't watch anyway. You're not going to watch beyond a certain amount of seconds if
No,
it's the wrong video. So you've just
yeah,
wasted
yeah,
time and money. So please, please, please get
yeah.
that part
And I think
right.
the begin any entry that you do, I think you just touched upon something as well, which again I think is a really, I'm going back to the thing that is really good to do,
Yes,
is the first almost sort of 5 to 10 seconds of your 5 minute video, like
yes,
make sure that it
it
really gets
grabs
it grabs the attention. Yeah.
in the
So
right
that's
way.
in the right in the right way, exactly.
Here are my dirty
So
boxes. Right, now I've got that out of the way. Yeah, don't do that. Uh, of course not. Yes, but it's true because,
yeah,
like this year we've got David Stallman who runs an agency out in America. And I remember years ago, before he was involved in this, in the Clubhouse days, he would talk about he gets videos every day sent to
yeah,
him. And unless you can grab him within the first 15 seconds, he's not going to watch it,
yeah,
period.
yeah,
Because it's just not great use of his time, right? Time is money and all that. Now, in this
yeah,
case, time is not money, but time is attention. And
yeah,
unless you grabbed us within the first 15 or 30 seconds, yeah, then some people will do the courtesy. I do know some
yeah,
judges that will watch, right? Because
yeah.
that's who they are. But equally, I know other judges that will just turn off after 15 seconds if you haven't grabbed them. And just think
But
about that, people
also,
watching, listening to this. Yeah.
yeah, and also like if you've got like 100 in that category, like
Right.
from a like you said, a lot of the judges are, they've got they're giving their time and all of that kind of stuff. So I think when you've got high talented judges like you do, they know from that first that, because I will tend to watch, even if the first part doesn't grab me, I will still tend to watch a minute or two into it, just in
Right.
case it's turned around. But if
Wow.
it doesn't get turned around, then I know the rest of this video is not gonna change me, because if I was in their audience, I probably would have switched off and started looking at my phone or whatever. And that's the important thing. So yes, the first part's got to grab you, but when you've got 100 submissions to watch, 100
Yeah.
videos to watch, you're kind of going, right, the first 10 seconds doesn't grab me, I'll watch another 30 seconds, or I'll watch another 60 seconds. If that doesn't grab me, then this probably isn't going to be as good as the ones I've seen so far.
Right.
So those are the things that as a speaker, and the thing about this is we're talking about award submissions here.
Yeah.
This is also true of real life. You've got
Right.
to grab your audience in as a speaker. So this is just learning back then and going, well, actually it didn't grab.
Yeah, and I think it's true. There's something that's true to life about this process, right? How you commit to this process is how probably you commit to speaking gigs,
Yeah.
right? And I think that um, Maria talks a lot about this in her book, the bookability formula, right?
Yeah.
The speakers that stand out, that tailor their content, that tailor their applications or their proposals are the ones versus just copying pasting another one. And
Yeah.
it's the same. I think again, sure, if you're doing three categories, you need to do three applications, and sure, there's stuff that's consistently the same.
Yeah.
But the reason why you should win thought leadership isn't the same reason why you should win storytelling. So, and
Yeah.
again, what we're seeing is a kind of a reflection of how people take speaking
Yeah.
seriously, right?
Yeah.
If you take like Alex Atherton that won last year,
Yeah.
newcomer, right?
Yeah.
He
I remember him
yeah,
really.
right.
Yeah.
He really consumed books about winning awards. He
Yeah,
really consumed the process. He asked loads,
amazing.
and then he went on to win. And but at the end of the day, it's a speaking competition. So the thing that matters is what you put forward in the video.
Yeah,
And as a result, he's now booked a lot more. He feels that the award really opened doors for him. It got him
yeah,
conversations he was struggling to get. But he really consumed the process. And
yeah.
Sarah also talked about committing to the process,
Process.
committing to your speaking, not flippantly, not half-heartedly, like really commit to the category in the process. So I think this is really good. Anything to add to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I think what you just said, you know me too well, Elliot. Anything to add to that? You'd be like, Dee, she always wants to add
No, no,
something.
but that's why I'm
I
interviewing
know,
you.
I know. But that's really interesting actually, because like you said, when you enter these awards, you have got to enter them with with that sort of serious hat on, with a this is something that is important to me. Because,
Yes.
you can easily kind of enter an award going, oh, I'll see if I win, and then just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll just submit this little thing in or whatever. But no, really take time, really consider every single angle. Like you said, read what the criteria is, see what you're entering. Because like you said, the skill set, when you're teaching people to speak, the skill set, or when you're learning to speak, the skill set of storytelling is different to the skill set of explaining a very important point to a corporate audience, to when you are starting off your presentation. There are different skill sets for each part of your talk. Yes, there's a thread running through it all, but there are different skill sets. And you've got to think about that. So, like you said, if you are entering a TEDx, it's a different skill set. You have to think about that. When you are entering, or when you're doing a TEDx, when you are entering for, leadership, or when you are entering for a webinar, that's really important as well. Like online presentations are to keep the audience engaged is very, very different, or accelerated, maybe not different, but certainly accelerated to what you might have to do on stage. So there's all these different skill sets. And I think that people need to take these awards seriously, just like they would their career. So yeah, Sarah said exactly what Sarah said is so true, because this is a game changer, and I've seen the difference it's made in so many other people's speaking careers. I've seen, just by being a judge on this in this process for the last 5 years, also what difference that makes to me getting speaking gigs as well,
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
that is, it is on my like bio. I am
Ah,
an award.
yeah.
So yes, absolutely. And so these things are important, when you give us, the promos for,
Yes.
making sure that our social media and our databases are knowing about this. They put you on a pedestal because they go, well, actually, if she or he is a judge, they must be good at what they do.
Yeah.
So, um,
You're invited because you are,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. But so I think overall, like whether it's you're a judge or an applicant, a speaker who's entering, these will give you such a great lift up in your speaking career, and I think you need to take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well said. I didn't realize it benefits you guys. Obviously, it benefits you, but I didn't realize it's helping you get speaking gigs. That makes me happy. No one books me big on the back of it. That's not true. I do get bookings, but no one ever goes, "Oh, you're the founder of the Speaker Awards. We should book you." Like, hello,
Yeah,
everybody,
exactly.
book me.
Yeah.
I think the
But al-
assumption, I
but
think the
also, like,
assumption is I'm
if you
too busy.
also, if you look at these things, right? So, let's look at it from the speaker's point of view, who's submitting an application,
Yeah,
right? They've been shortlisted for a particular category in the speaker awards versus a speaker who's not been shortlisted or never won an award. Like
right.
from a client point of view, or a booker point of view, who are you going to look at more? It's like having a book, isn't it? Somebody who's got
Yeah,
a published book versus somebody who hasn't. And I think it's the same for, even as a judge. Somebody, if I'm being compared to somebody else who's got the same sort of talent, but I'm a judge for the Speaker Awards, which happen annually, and I'm the original OG judge. All
yeah.
of this is it just adds credibility. And I think that's, again, something that the speakers who are, entering the awards, they've got to think about that. This will give them credibility. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, thank you for everything you're giving in this interview as well. So when you're not between April and July in award season. What are you doing outside of this? Let's get to know you a bit more than just the judge.
There's a couple of things actually. I took a break last 2024. I took a break from my speaking. I've been
Mhm.
speaking right up, I think it must have been 15 years now. So I started speaking around 2010, I think it was. So
Wow.
right up until 2024-ish, I'm, as you know, I mean, you and I ran rooms in Clubhouse and all
Yeah,
sorts,
that's
and
right.
I've spoken on your stage and I've spoken on
Yeah.
other big stages. So I was, really out there speaking specifically about LinkedIn at the time because that was my niche, wasn't it? And then I took a break. My father became ill, and so I took a break for that time and closed down my business for a short time. And as you know, Elliot, I came back this year
You
going, right,
did.
I'm going to resurrect my speaking career and
Woohoo.
relaunch it. So I'm in the process of doing that, which is great. And I've, I think what you realize as a speaker over the years is there is so much knowledge you have, like, everything that I've done in my life. Actually, when I go back to it and I go, oh my God, this is a group of people that I can still continue to help. And I can see that there is a massive need. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about the speaking industry is that it's recession proof, I believe,
Okay.
to a
Cool.
point whereby I think every organization, as more that has humans involved, will require a speaker at some stage or somebody to come in and change behavior. And I think that's what I love about the speaking industry, that you can
Yeah.
make an impact by the words that you say, and will have no idea the ripple effect you're having, how your words might change one person, whether it's in their career, whether it's personally, whatever. So I'm really excited about relaunching my career, my show reel, all of those kind of things, after having worked with you. So thank you very much for your help on
You're
that.
very welcome.
And I am in the world of TikTok now, so
Woohoo.
which has been really exciting actually. So I am part of my brother's business, and what we do is we help um, content creators live stream on TikTok. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been having loads of fun with that, learning at 53, learning a complete new channel. But it's a great channel, and I think there's lots of potential. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. But I'm really
Okay.
excited about, getting my speaking career off the ground again, and getting with, booking agencies and things like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that too, because I
And
miss
can
the
you,
speaking. I think that's my happy place, Elliot, being on
yes,
stage.
yes, I completely get that. And can you use what you're learning to help grow your own TikTok following and your own kind of?
Yeah, 100%. Going live on TikTok is a complete different beast. So it's probably not something that I'll do straight away. But
Okay.
as I start to launch my speaking career again, I'll be back on the socials. That'll include TikTok, of course. And knowing a little bit more about it definitely helps. And obviously the usual stuff. I'll get back on LinkedIn and things like that. So yeah. So
Nice.
it's a nice sort of pivotal moment in my career at the moment because I used to have the LinkedIn business before, which you know about. I spoke on your stage about it.
Yeah.
And that was my sort of core business with speaking attached to it. However, now I'm making speaking my core business,
Right. Yay.
which is a massive difference. So yeah. And then I'll also be writing a book as well about that too. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Looking forward
yeah.
to that. Yeah, my book comes out
Well,
on the
I've got
3rd of
big
July.
shoes to follow in the book world.
No, no. I mean, I don't think, there's a comparison to be had there. Hopefully this is my last book.
Inspiration, not comparison,
Ah, okay,
inspiration.
inspiration. Okay, you can take that.
Exactly.
I'll give
Never
you that.
compare.
No, compared to despair, right? Yeah, so no, I'm yesterday was going through my chapters again. The editor had made notes, so I'm just waiting
Yeah.
for her to finish today. I've got a call actually with the designer. Things need to happen quite quickly because I didn't account for the time I'll need to rewrite, and it turns out I
Mm,
needed to rewrite a lot.
yeah.
So
Well,
I've
that's because of the
rewritten it.
speaking industry, isn't it, as well? Because there's so much change
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
probably you Elliot, you're gonna have like first edition, second edition, third
Well, this
edition.
book actually isn't about. I talk about speaking in it, but it's
Yeah.
not a speaking
So
book.
which
It's
which one
actually
is this one then?
this is called Watch Me Go. So this
Oh,
is the
okay.
new one. It's more about an attitude and my
Yeah.
approach to life that, when someone says you can't do it, watch me. When someone said
Oh,
like,
amazing.
it's all about watch me, right?
Yeah.
It's got almost got that childlike innocent when your kid
Yeah.
goes, watch me, daddy. It's got like watch me go.
Yeah.
It's funny because actually one of the things where Lucy, who's the co-founder of the Speaker Awards and the Business Book Awards,
Yeah,
she was
exactly.
the one that said to me, I don't think you're going to pull it off in time. And I said, watch me. And then I did. So it's kind of all around those kind of
Oh,
stories,
amazing.
right? So that's the 3rd of July. My seventh and hopefully my final book. I don't know if I want to write after that. Let's see. I think I've made the point that people with dyslexia can write, um, which is why I'm hoping this book will actually land. I've got the sneeze itch again.
Again.
Let me see if it'll actually come out or it will go.
Well, while
Um,
you're doing that, I can probably say something around the fact that, well, first of all, like you said, you've proven this point about, people with dyslexia can write books and be extremely successful with the written word. I think also, though, I think for you, and I might be wrong, but so you can tell me to shut up. But
I
I
doubt it.
think
But go on.
I don't think I mean having written 7 books, I think it's not just about the dyslexia. I think it's just the fact that you've got so much to share and you do it so freely and without personal gain. And I think that's credit to you, Elliot, because
Thank you.
um, even like me and you have known each other for years, and I've obviously known your lovely wife for even
Even
longer.
longer, I know. And she's
Um,
younger, for the record.
but we really kind of you and I really kind of sort of connected again during Clubhouse times,
That's
didn't
right.
we?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it kind of just, even though I knew you before, we didn't really cross paths that much. And then it suddenly we just kind of like, and I think that just developed this relationship, developed this friendship did.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
right.
think it's because of that, because you have no judgment, you have no qualms, you have no ego. And I think that's really important because in this industry, you can probably get a lot of that. Well, not probably, you do get a lot of that. And I think that can also be quite damaging to this industry. So I think, it's kudos to you that you're doing so much for it, but you are very humble around it. And I think
Oh,
that's
thank you.
something huge.
That's really nice. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you very much. Very,
That's all right.
very nice to hear. No, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
I
Yeah.
was
So
waiting for you
let's.
to sneeze, but it didn't happen.
It
So
didn't happen. It went again. So it'll just creep up on me. Maybe this will be the episode of the sneeze. It'll just suddenly I'll be talking and be
yeah.
achoo like in the middle of it. Let's see if everyone listening, if you hear the sneeze, give me a sneeze emoji. So I think and that's a beautiful way to kind of segue to, the part that I love talking about is our kitchen table, right?
Yeah.
So our kitchen table, if now you look at it, it's got Lego on it. It's got all these things like going Lego, arts, crafts. And it's where Emily and I sit down and talk about the future. Like today, we're talking about, we're looking to buy a house where we live and things like that.
Yeah.
So it all happens around the kitchen table. What's
Yeah.
on your kitchen table, Denita?
Oh gosh, loads. So first of all, I think a lot around the kitchen table tends to be actually discussions with me and my brothers actually quite a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, because they're both in business as well. And we, all three of us we've gone through personal development avenues, and we are very competitive with each other. We argue loads, but we are so solid as
Okay.
a three of us. And so we have these discussions quite a bit. We have discussions around the kitchen table where we talk about, you know, what's happening in this country, the economy, the politics, the future actually, because my brother's got 3 gorgeous little girls,
Mm,
and he is constantly going, how can I future proof for my children?
yeah.
Like obviously, giving them the right sound bites and morals and ethics and understanding of what life is and how you should be as an individual. Ambition. So we talk about, the ambition that he's his concerns about that. And also things around what is the future for them? Because, when you look at what jobs are going to be available in about 20 years' time,
Yeah.
and, the AI side of things, which we all embrace because it's there to be embraced. but also what does it mean for his kids? So we talk a lot about the future of,
Okay.
what's happening in the next even 10 years, not even 20. And so we have loads of conversations around that. And then other things around our kitchen table are just about living life, Elliot. I think as I've gotten older, something that and a lot of people when they meet me, they would never have thought this about me. But I remember being very nervous when I was growing up. I wasn't very confident, even though I loved being in the limelight, funny enough, because
Okay.
my
Interesting.
father, who's no longer with us now, but he was, a man of the community, man of standing. He would be on stages doing speeches and lead communities and groups and things like that. So I think I got my love of and he loved dancing and he loved being in the limelight. So
Oh,
I got
cool.
that from him. But I was always really nervous, and it was perfection that kind of paralyzed me, and I thought I had to be this
Ah,
perfect
okay.
person. And then as I continued, and I went through personal development, I learned that, well, actually, you know what? You've just got to give things a go. And so that is a big thing around the kitchen table is like, really just living life, giving it a go. What's the worst that can happen? And you know, and whatever you do, as long as obviously it's not harming anyone else, you've got to follow your path. And things will work. Some people will like it, some people won't, and that's okay. And I think those are the kind of like discussions that
Hmm.
tend to happen on our kitchen table. Plus
Sounds
plus
really
food.
interesting. What
Discussions about food.
and food? Yes, of course. What are you giving a go at now that you haven't previously given it a go at? Is there anything on the agenda?
So I think that, you know, changing my direction in my career, I
Uh-huh.
think, having had a business for 12, however many years,
Yeah, right.
and then having closed that business, joined my brother, obviously, but also learning, like I said, learning something brand new.
Hmm.
It's never too late, I eventually, when I look at sort of the live streaming side of TikTok and look at that as well, but really just embracing that kind of new direction. And for me, it is a complete change because I thought that I would be in that business, in the business I had for years to come. And now it's almost like, right, I'm starting something completely different, and it's okay because as long as you're happy and as long as you're enjoying it and it's giving you the growth and innovation that you want, because you've got to continue to innovate, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
something that is really, people stay in a particular job or a business or whatever for a really long time, even though they stop enjoying it. And I think the minute that I stopped enjoying what I was doing, I knew it was time to kind of let it go and embrace something new. And it took me a while. I did a few different things, but I've landed here and I'm like, I'm absolutely loving it. And that's what, and because of that excitement, that then, along with, resurrecting my, relaunching my, I keep saying resurrecting, but really relaunching my speaker career,
Yeah,
it's just a new lease of life, and I'm really looking forward to it. And especially with the speaking side, because
yeah,
all this, and this, all these years, I've been a speak to sell speaker.
yeah.
Whereas now I'm and that's really been in the entrepreneurial world, and now I'm changing that completely. So I've got loads of, I've got a book that I want to write, which I'm working on at the moment in terms of,
Uh-huh.
angle, etc. But I also I had a podcast, which I did for a season
Oh,
last
yeah.
year or the year before. I want to start a podcast again. So I want to just get back into those things again.
Oh, okay. That sounds like fun. Yeah, it's really interesting because if you think about it, like over the last 2 decades, when I've run businesses from, coaching business when I was the coach with a hat, and then that
Yeah,
morphing to be a strategy business. But I've always then run Speaker Express alongside that,
yeah,
then moved into Speaker Express full time. Then obviously the pandemic kicked in, and Speaker Express then has phased out. And then I emerged more as Elliot Kay, and then Speaker Awards and
yeah,
pro speakers that runs the Speaker Awards, the Speaker Summit, and all that. I think every time you kind of go down, this is the business, right? And then eventually go, well, no, maybe it's not. Um, so again, even now, the conversations we're having with the Speaker Awards and the speaker is like exit. Like, when are we going to exit? So I'm aware that this is not the business I want to run for the rest of my life.
yeah.
I'm going to give it 10 years, we're
Mm,
five in, so five to go, and then we look to exit. I mean, if an
yeah.
offer came in now with a good, I'd probably exit. I mean, I
Yeah.
love what I do, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna love doing this forever, right?
Yeah, and it is that
Um,
attachment, isn't it?
it
If you
is.
can detach yourself from that and kind of go, well, listen, this is something that's here in the present and now, and you go, right, this is brilliant, it's working, and and you're putting everything into it. And then, like you said, in 2 years' time, we don't know what's going to happen. And we've seen that, haven't we? I mean, who knew we were going to be locked indoors for 2 years? Nobody saw that coming. And I remember even then, I was doing both speaking and LinkedIn, and I had to pivot in the way that I got
Yeah.
clients because I could no longer see people. I wasn't in live rooms, couldn't do any of that. So had to pivot to an online webinar strategy, which I'd
Right.
never done before. So, but that worked, and it got me through 2 great years in COVID and the year after. So you just never know, what's around the corner. And I think it's James Sinclair. If you don't, I'm sure you know him, but he says if you don't innovate, you'll evaporate.
Yeah, true.
So
True. Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's all those kind of sayings.
yeah,
If you don't adapt, then if someone else will fill the void. No,
yeah,
absolutely. So this is really, really deep and insightful, and I love. That's why I do these long form versus 25 minutes. Let's fire the questions.
yeah.
So what I'd really love to ask you just before we do start to wrap this up, because it's been brilliant. I feel like you and me can just keep on talking, right?
We
Is
can.
what should we be talking about that we're not talking about? It doesn't have to be in the speaking world. Generally, what's the conversation we need to bring to the front that isn't being discussed?
I think we really do need to look at the future of AI. I think
Okay.
the topic of AI is really, really popular at the moment, and I
Yes.
and you've almost got two camps. You've got, oh my gosh, it's going to take all our jobs and replace us all, versus, oh yeah, I'm learning AI because I've got to embrace it. But actually, we've got to look at the real long-term future, and we've got to really, really look at what is going to happen, in the future, because, what jobs are literally going to be replaced by AI potentially. And
Right.
let's look at the reality of that so that those individuals, there is something for them to also pivot or innovate to, so that we don't have a future whereby people are feeling like they've been let go, they can't keep up, all of that kind of stuff. And I think that a more serious conversation needs to happen because it's not going away. And I think no matter what political laws come in about how what you can use it for and that kind of stuff, I think we need to take it a bit more seriously about future proofing our individual livelihoods,
Mm.
um, especially people who are in their 30s, 40s, where they've still got another 30 odd years to go. Because expectancy is longer, and people are working till longer, all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. That future is nearer than you think. And I think so. I think there needs to be more serious conversation about that, how AI, how it's going to evolve, and um, what it's going to do to the world and the industries, all the different industries, and how that might need to now start. We need to now look at it from now and go, right, what can we do to protect um, things, but in an innovative way, I think.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I've been listening a lot about AI, all sides. So I'm listening to quite an interesting book called The Empire of
Mm.
AI. And she's a lady that's looked sort of at how the top five are behaving. What's it called? I'll tell you now. Empire of AI, yeah. How they're behaving like conquerors, more like
Yeah.
building empires. They're looking at first they take over resources, then the workforce, and land grab. So she's equating it to the five pillars. Only early on, so it's very interesting to see the other side of how
Yeah.
people are looking at how the AI companies are behaving. But also, I think with AI, now, of course, I use AI as
Yeah.
well. So I'm not like anti AI, but also understanding the detrimental economic effect that AI is having, not just on employment, on
Yeah.
sustaining their own companies. Because I was listening to something recently, and apparently the software that AI uses needs to be
Mm,
upgraded every 3 to 4 years, and the
mm.
cost of that is either it's a 600 billion, like it's a ridiculous amount
Ridiculous.
of money. And I think the question was going to be like, well, you can slightly bankrupt a country by doing
Mm.
that because they did that with electricity, right? And they did that with the railroads. They slightly
Yeah.
bankrupted, knowing the money would come back. The
Yeah.
question is, if something needs to be upgraded every 3 to 4 years at that cost,
Cost.
will it ever be recouped? Because also you're looking at a product that people aren't happy to spend, $400 or $500 a month. They're spending $20 a month.
Yeah.
So are you ever going to make that? And so there's so many unknowns that could, and then someone has to take the cost, right? So if I've just upgraded AI for 600 billion, whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm struggling, I'm going to turn to the government and
Yeah.
then what does the government do? If they bail us out, then we have to pay the taxes. So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of kind of unseens around it. Of course, it's
Yeah.
great for so many things. And I guess the question is it going to become that even though, let's say, AI can do surgery, that it still needs human supervision?
Yeah.
Then it's a tool to improve. Like, a bit like they said, YouTube. Once YouTube came along, that's it for live studios. TV's
Yeah.
dead, da da da, and it didn't. Right?
Yeah.
Didn't die. Actually, TV turns out it's still one of the most popular. Although 10% of people get their news from YouTube,
Yeah.
especially during conflict. Um, there's so many unknowns and so many questions around AI. I think it's
Mm.
really worth expanding beyond listening to just, let's say, Sam Altman speak. Also listen to the
Yeah.
anti-Sam Altmans, and like Elon Musk is massively outspoken against AI and how it's,
Yeah.
but then he then goes and launches his own AI. So
Yeah.
it's like, what is it and
Yeah.
what's it going to be? So I think you're right. And actually, I interviewed Kate Atkinsale, who won Thought Leadership, no, she won AI actually. She's
Okay.
talking about
Yeah.
the dangers of AGM, which is the
Yeah.
fully automated
Yeah.
thinking, being, feeling, and
Yeah.
how much closer that is. So I think you're right. I think there needs to be more of the other side, the
Yeah.
darker side, the other side that we're not talking about, which is the
Yeah.
economical impact,
Impact.
the sustainable. I mean, I think they take huge amount of water to run. Where's that water
Oh,
going to come from?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think so. I don't know how true this is. So I'm saying I've heard this. Someone
Mm.
said for every line you write or chat GBT writes, it needs half a
Hmm.
liter of water, something
Oh,
like that.
wow.
So it's a lot of drainage, right? And
Yeah.
water. So there's all these other things that aren't being spoken about. So yeah, I think you're right. Where do you sit with AI? Just out of interest.
Yeah, so I use it and I use it as a tool. I think it's really impactful and effective for helping companies become more efficient, and even help the individual become more efficient in their role so that they, as a human, they can be used, um, or they can then develop other lateral strategic skills in other areas of their workforce or their business or whatever it might be. So that's how I use it. I believe that it's there for us to embrace. I think there are things that we can do with it. It shouldn't just be I mean, in the most basic form, a copywriter shouldn't put something into AI, copy and paste it and use that. It's about, okay, I've written this piece. I need to make it sound a little bit better, or I'm not quite sure how to phrase this sentence. Let me put it into AI. How would this work? How would this be received? It's using it as a tool. And I think it's a great way to just um, to really help with processes and systems. Because if you think of things like the E-Myth, the book The E-Myth, right?
Yeah,
That was all about how to systemize your businesses or systemize how you work so that you can become more efficient. And I think AI is an elevated version of that, right? How
yeah,
can you now
yeah.
use AI to systemize things so that you can save costs in certain areas, and also the individual is more productive in more important areas that AI would be able to do. So
Hmm.
that's how I believe. I think it's and it's one of those things. I think I've always been, in the scale, I've always been a bit of a early adopter in terms of when things come on the market, I want to know about it. I want to learn about it.
Yeah.
Whether I'm going to then eventually use it or not, I don't know yet. But let's embrace it because this might be something. So I remember when ChatGPT first came out,
Yeah.
especially when I was one of the first to go, right,
Let's have
let's
a go.
download it and have a go and see what it's all about and how does it work and learn about it because you've got to be that way inclined now, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is what I mean. I want to encourage everybody to kind of look at all sides when it comes to
Mm,
AI. And it's not, I wasn't particularly like, oh, I just kind of fell into it by listening to stuff about it. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, that's interesting. And now listening, as I said, I'm very early into it, the empire of AI. It's quite an interesting other side to it.
yeah,
I think it can only be good to be educated, and then you can make an
yeah,
informed decision, right? And I think
yeah,
it's got
exactly.
many advantages. Of course, it does. I use it
Yeah,
regularly. I haven't unplugged my
yeah,
AI,
yeah.
but
And it's using it for the right things, isn't it, Elliot? It's like
exactly
going, I'm not gonna use AI to, I don't know, I'm not gonna get something. I'm not gonna use AI to tell me that there's something what my ailments are. I'm gonna go to a doctor.
right,
Right?
exactly.
So it's being sensible about it and going, right, okay, what can this be a powerful tool for? And that's what I'm gonna focus it because then I know that I am with the times, I'm innovating and I'm moving ahead as opposed to using it to scare me or give me the wrong information just
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
out there.
Perfect, brilliant. Okay, so as we wrap this up, what's your final message to everybody that's listened this far? It can be about the awards, and of course, anything else beyond that.
Well, first of all, I think let's look at the awards as well, and and my final message will be kind of like intertwined,
All interlinked. Okay,
interlinked. If you not if those of you who are watching this podcast, I hope you've enjoyed it. And please, please, please remember April 30th is the deadline for the awards. So,
correct.
oh, enter the awards. And if you happen to be watching this in, I don't know, July 2026, or August 2026, then enter the next year's awards. Just
Correct.
make sure Speaker Awards is in your diary every single year because it is the best way as a speaker, whether you're new or you are seasoned. It's a phenomenal platform for you. You will not be disappointed. So please, please enter because I plan to be part of them for as long as I can, as long as Elliot will
Ah,
have me. Um,
forever.
and then that kind of leads me on to the next bit, and really, and that is, in life, you've just got to um, take a chance. You have really, really got to take a chance on you. And like Elliot said, you've got to back yourself.
Mm.
So, as a speaker, I know what it took for me to lose the procrastination and the perfection element and just become really passionate. And the moment that I became passionate about what I was speaking about, and I didn't worry about the words on a piece of paper that I have to try and remember, but I spoke with passion. I became I became that engaging speaker. I became the speaker that people wanted to put on their stages. So for every single individual out there who's wanting to become a speaker, you can. And just remember that when you are passionate about the topic that you're speaking about, you will be able to be trained in such a way where you won't have to remember the words. You will just naturally speak within a structure and wow your audience. So yeah, that's all I want to
Sounds
say.
brilliant. Brilliantly. Thank you for being on our A&S Front Row podcast. And everybody listening and hearing, and as this is recording, there's 9 days. It'll probably be released a few days later. So you're probably listening to us a few days later. Go to thespeakawards.com, get your applications in. Everything's there. What the judges are judging you on, the application process. There's templates for you to use. There's resources for you to watch. Everything's there for you to make a decision. Back yourself today. Get started. Finish before the 30th of April. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you on the shortlist soon.
Thanks for
Denita,
having me, Elliot.
thank you for being here. Have a lovely rest of the day. Everybody listening, till the next time, we will see you soon. Go out there and back yourselves. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right. And